ready to start. Okay, so Nick is the next speaker of today. Importance of condition and particle revolution. Blah blah blah.
Hello everyone. First of all, thanks to organizers for organizing such a beautiful meeting, and it has been wonderful to listen very good science. And thanks for the opportunity to talk. And right now I'm in a very tough situation and between you and your bus. So I promise that I will take every minute count. So I will be talking about one of the important thing about the dark matter halo angular momentum distribution discontinuity, which has been missed in the previous study. And it's similar to what Michael talked about the effect of the dark matter halo particles, which kind of lead to spaghetti of the disk. It's some kind of technicalities. So I don't need to give much of the introduction to the bar galaxy, as Jutai and Thomas and Alina, all talked about the bar galaxies. But I will point out the bars which are directing at high redshift. So we need to explain them. So there has been quite some work by Josh, where he explains through the baryon disk fraction, and today he also talked about the role of halo spin. I will be also talking about that. And we also did some work with the Jutai student, Bin Chen, where we explained with the rotating dark matter halo it can produce ugly bars. And then Shashank also talked on Wednesday about the effect of SAD. So this is like just to highlight a bit of the Bin's result, which is like we explored a lot of parameter space with the embodied simulations where we vary the disk fraction mass as well as the tomb Q parameter, so sort of the heat disks which are prevalent at high redshift. So we find that most of the disks are able to form a trigger bar earlier, which are forming bar late if you have a non-spinning dark matter halo. So coming back to the JWST result, which is finding a lot of bars at high redshift, and Origa is kind of matching the JWST bar fraction at high redshift. And coming to the motivation of the current work is, which is the role of dark matter halo. As we know that dark matter halo is pretty important in terms of you need to basically it transport angular momentum from disk to dark matter halo, and as a result it forms bar in the disk. And it has been highlighted by many previous works, and the role of halo mass concentration and triactionality has been largely explored by Atensola's work. And so Sherry is also in a poster where you can see the dark matter halo and bar connection. So I'm interested in the halo spin because there has been two kind of studies where it has been shown that if you have a rotating dark matter halo, it will promote bar formation. So there is some discrepancy between the two results. One is that Long et al. And Saha and Naab in 2014, which shows that in this long-term evolution, bar forms pretty early in the formation time, but in long terms it kind of fades out. But in our study we find that it's in secular evolution it sustains. So we wanted to look for what is really causing this impact, and for this we kind of got a hint that if the total angular momentum of halo is same, but the distribution is different, then it kind of lead to some kind of this impact in long-term evolution. And that's what we asked this question, whether for a given total spin, does the angular momentum distribution has any impact or not. So we started with an approximation. First, we know that a galaxy which is in equilibrium follows this Poisson-Boltzmann dynamics, where you have this CBA and this Poisson equation, and then for isolated system which is in equilibrium, it will be this del F by del theta will be 0, and then if you make a slight perturbation with a potential which is dependent only on the positions, you will get this phi1 term, and then you solve it and you get this term, which is how the perturbation evolve over time. And we see that this perturbation is a function of a multiplication of derivative of f and phi, where this will diverge except two conditions, whether this term goes to whether this del f by del v, which is the discontinuity you introduce in distribution function, is kind of multiplied by del x, which is goes to 0, or both terms are orthogonal. So to check the non-linear design, we motivate antibody simulation. So that's why we set up the initial condition, and so we see that we make a non-rotating dark matter halo with gamma, and then we kind of switch the particle from retrograde to prograde depending on some rules. This is the probability which we use, and this probability kind of control the jump between the prograde, retrograde, and as well as the smoothness. So chi controls the smoothness and lambda controls the jump, how many orbits you flip. So we generate 4 models, but we keep the total angular momentum same. So the total spin of the halo is same. Only difference is that it has distribution is different, which you can see the retrograde orbits are kind of increasing in the inner region from 0 to 50. But outer side it may be opposite, so which I am not interested now. But inner is the which plays a more role in the bar evolution, and we measure the spin using this Bullock parameter, which is kindly used in all cosmological simulations. So this is our setup, where you see that the discontinuity is kind of decreasing as you go from D0 to D3, where retrograde fraction is also increasing with the radius, and this discontinuity is especially at Lz is equal to 0. And all models have same spin. And then we evolve the model, we find that bar forms pretty quickly in all the models. But in the late term evolution, you see that the model D0, which has the highest discontinuity, it kinds of leads to decay in the bar strength at the later evolution. But for the D3, which is having the least discontinuity or most continuous distribution of angular momentum, it sustains the bar form. And the bar which is sustaining for long, it captures more of it and it slows down more, and its pattern speed is also low. So these are the D0 models, which from T0 to T, we are up to 10 gigayears, and we see that bar kind of is a kind of a weak bar pattern. And for the model D3, which is having a most least discontinuity or more continuous distribution of angular momentum, bar is kind of getting more stronger, and it also results in strong buckling, as you see this edge on view as well. So we kind of explain that this result through angular momentum transport within the bar region and outside the bar region. So the model which is having least discontinuity is more efficient in transporting angular momentum from the inner region to outer region, and that is also, we also show from here that outer regions loses least angular momentum in the case of when you have a continuous distribution of angular momentum. So we also check the buckling effect on the buckling, which is so the bar which is forming very stronger in case of the most continuous distribution of angular momentum, it kind of buckles with a larger strength, which we measure using this parameter, A buckler. And we also check the BPX shape, which is kind of results due to this buckling, as you also talked about. It leads to higher strength of the BPX purge, and it is more pronounced in the case of most continuous distribution of angular momentum. And this is kind of the summary of this, the BPX purges, where you see that the model which has halo discontinuity, halo angular momentum distribution, discontinuity more, you have a least buckling and least bar strength. It leads to lower BPX pulse strength pulges, and the model which has the highest continuity in distribution with the same spin, total angular momentum, leads to this massive pulse pulse. And this is the take-home messages. I think people are reading, so I think they want to see Milky Way from their home. So yeah, thank you.
Nice, beautiful. Thanks for making it super quick. This gives us time for one question before running to the bus. So this is really not my topic. I understand that you have a model which has some assumptions. Can you relax some of them to make it more easy? Like for instance.
Yeah, so this study was purely conducted to test the effect of discontinuity, which has been unintentionally introduced in previous studies. People like they switch the they shift the particle from prograde to retrograde to prograde with some arbitrary fraction. But we wanted to understand this technicality in more detail, and it really affects the bar formation in a